Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Faulkner, and welcome to VillageCore, where we live our mission, which is to build intergenerational connections through sharing and learning. This is a place where senior wisdom and youth tech minds join forces in order to bring you meetings like this. Today, we are joined by Yasmin Shah, the author of Experience Caregiving for Seniors, Stories that Lighten the Journey. She is here to tell us a little bit about her book and a little bit about her personal experience dealing with her loved ones in her life. Thank you, Yasmin, for being here with me.
I am so excited, Brandon. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So can you tell me a little bit about the purpose as to why you made this book?
Um, Brandon, the reason I wrote the book is my parents were the most generous and giving people that I've ever known in my life. They and through their tough life experiences, I think I wanted to honor and respect not only who they were, but also the lessons that others could get from hearing about their stories.
Mhm.
And in that respect, they would be giving to both seniors and caregivers for years to come if I shared their stories. So I wrote it as fiction because these subjects can be pretty difficult to
Yeah.
deal with, and also by listening to someone's story, I'm hoping that both seniors and caregivers will get a sense of comfort that they're not the only ones to be going through those type of experiences. So that was my purpose.
Yes. And the stories within the book, are they based off of personal experiences or other people's experiences? What are the stories based off of?
So yeah, a number of things, a number of stories in the book. They're all disguised, are experiences that I went through personally. But over the last 20 years, I have volunteered um, on almost on seven nonprofit boards that are helping seniors and or caregivers, and I drew inspiration from those stories and my own stories and those of my friends and family that have struggled with these issues. So I jumbled it all together to come up with this book.
And was it hard for you writing this book to relive those memories and to think about, all the things that you could have done or how things would have changed? Was that, difficult for you to, get through the book and think about all this stuff?
Yeah, it really was, Brandon. It was truly a labor of love. I did cry many a times writing these stories. It was almost, Brandon, harder to edit the stories after I wrote them because it was almost more like a purge when I was writing.
Mhm.
But then when I was reading it that's when it hit me more for some reason.
Yeah. And throughout the book, we have a lot of different sub chapters of stories and all that. Where these sub chapters, something that you kind of thought, maybe okay, these are stories that people can look at and relate to on a personal level, rather than some stories not matching up with what they think, doesn't match with them, so people can jump around in the story and find what matches to them. Is that why you wrote it like that?
Yeah, that was my main reason, Brandon, because I know when I was actively caregiving, I didn't have time to sit and read a full book. So
Yes.
I'm hoping that this book will be more like a resource. And in fact, we haven't talked about the companion app yet. But even with the book, I'm hoping a caregiver or a senior can just pick up the book and go to the most relevant chapter for them and read that. So they don't have to read it cover to cover to get help. they can go directly to a subchapter. So as an example, one of the hardest things I had to do was have the conversation with my dad about you can't drive anymore.
Mhm.
So if someone's going through that particular experience, they don't really need to read the full book. They can pick up the book, go directly to that chapter, and say, okay, how did someone else go through it? What was their mindset? Maybe it's the dialogues in that story that I could reuse and repurpose, and they might work with my own dad or mom. So that it was very thoughtful for me to think about the format of the book, because could have written it as nonfiction, also evaluated writing it as a fiction where you really each chapter and subchapter were tied in a story so that you had to read the whole thing to get the essence of it. But we really thought long and hard on how to make this book very purposefully beneficial for both seniors and caregivers.
Yes. And was it relief when when the book was finally published? Was it, something that you were excited about and, you were like, it's ready to go, we can send it out to the world, and finally everybody can experience this and read about all these stories?
Yes, it was quite a moment of joy to finally load it up on Amazon. I did do a happy dance and I made sure nobody else taped it because I don't dance very well, but it was quite a relief and joy. I really wanted to time it with either Mother's Day, Father's Day, or some real critical day in my life. I wasn't able to time it quite right, but I guess there is no wrong time to launch a book that is supposed to help others.
Yes, yes. And within the book's description on Amazon, it mentions that it is a fundraiser for a nonprofit called VillageCore. Can you tell me a little bit about VillageCore and what your role is at VillageCore and the purpose of VillageCore?
Right. So VillageCore as an organization was formed many years ago, and it was supposed to help communities launch aging in place nonprofits. And if someone wants to learn more about what I mean by that, they'll find that in the book. But over the years, we found that the way we were hoping to structure VillageCore to help communities to launch their aging in place villages wasn't going to quite work the way we had initially envisioned. So we've redefined the role of VillageCore, and it is really to build intergenerational connections through sharing and learning through the webinars you run, Brandon. Also, there's some really cool stuff that we are looking at doing. One of the things that I'm really excited about is I don't know if you've ever watched this movie called Intern with Robert De Niro, where he gets matched with a startup founder, and he helps her with making her company successful. So I know so many seniors who have not only deep industry knowledge, but they also have living experiences and connections that can help young entrepreneurs. So one of the key things we want to do is match these seniors with connections, with deep industry knowledge, with young entrepreneurs to come up with innovations that can help the entire world. So that is one of the key things that we are going to bring to the table. And also with the companion app, both the book and the companion app are fundraisers for VillageCore. And let's go further with that example of having to take the driver's license away. So with the companion app, what someone will be able to do is go in and talk to Rosie, which is the main character of the book, and the AI chatbot in the app, and say, I am about to have the conversation with my dad about taking his driver's license away. How did other people have that conversation? And also tell me what resources I should have in my hip pocket as I go approach that conversation with my dad. And they'll be able to do that. Rosie will pull up not just the story from this book, but other stories that Brandon, you're helping interview people and write that are similar stories for each one of these life situations. And it'll be able to pull up the other stories, and it'll be able to pull up resources and really arm the caregiver to have that conversation, which is a tough conversation to have.
Yes, yes. And as VillageCore grows and as, all this stuff grows and as VillageCore produces more, do you plan to write any more books about any other experiences or anything like that?
Yes. So this is a dream I had almost 20 years ago, to write a series of experience books, because I've had some really challenging experiences in my life. And on NPR, I used to listen to NPR a lot before, but I heard someone talk about how your life experiences are a complete waste unless you take those experiences and tell your story to help others that are going through similar experiences. So I have outlines of 10 books total in my head. I have a fairly detailed outline already for my next book, and I'm really excited about that one. So I hope to be back with you to share the next book sometime soon.
Yes. And this book now, is it supposed to pair with VillageCore and, be a resource to those who can both look at the book and look at VillageCore and say, you know what, this is something that I can use. These are resources that I can have in my pocket whenever something, whenever a challenge arises. Is that something that you hope that people take away from both the book and VillageCore?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm hoping very soon we'll be on the Apple and the Android app stores, and people will be able to download the app for this book. And the QR code for the companion app is on the book, on the back of the book, as well as in one of the first few pages if you end up getting the ebook. And oh, by the way, Brandon, we are also working on an audio version of this book. So I'm really hoping that people will keep this resource handy on their phones for any time they're feeling alone and feeling like they are the only ones that are going through this. No one else understands, and they don't know how to go about a situation like that. I mean, I'll tell you another story from the book, and it was a pretty gut-wrenching one, and this, I'll admit, was one that happened to me. It was related to a POLST form, which is a physician's order of life-sustaining treatment. And in that, my mom was on hospice at our home. And the last day she was with us, we were moving her into a nursing home. And when the ambulance came to take her, they told me that her breath was very shallow. And they asked me if they should put oxygen on her. Well, when someone's on hospice and they don't want to be artificially kept alive, in case of a situation like that, a physician's order of life-sustaining treatment or a POLST form is extremely essential.
Mhm.
And I had to provide that to the paramedics, and because she didn't want to be kept alive at that time, she was ready to go. And if I didn't have the pulse form, they would have kept her alive with oxygen, which is not what her wishes were. So those little things sometimes you don't think of, or I mean, I didn't even know to ask that question. Her physician brought it up on one of the last visits we had with that physician to say, if she's going on hospice, is that something you would want? And we talked through that with the physician, and then she created the form and handed it to me before we left the office. So things of that nature, Brandon, we don't know as caregivers or seniors, because that's not something that ordinarily happens to any of us. And I hope none of the listeners have to go through that experience. But if you do, at least it's good to be informed.
Yes, very good to be informed. And with VillageCore, I know that VillageCore is adding a lot of new partners. Can you speak a little bit about, what those new partners will be doing, how, they might be able to help out and other things like that?
Sure. So, in the companion app and also the resource pages on VillageCore, we won't just have the stories, but we'll have affiliate partners that are companies that have been around for a long time. Like going back to the example of driver's license away, you need to have the Uber and the Lyft and the Instacart, and maybe the CVS can deliver your packet, your medicine home, or Amazon app, or things of that nature. You need to have. So those are those we are trying to develop as our established partners. But more so, there are so many companies around the world that are coming up with innovative products that are barely hitting the market. And just today, we were having a conversation with a startup company that has a product where you can record messages and memories um, uh, for your loved ones, to be delivered on special occasions after you're no longer in this world. And that's such a nice concept. And, we want to bring those type of startups that are coming up with innovative products of all types onto this platform, so that not only can you read the stories, find the established companies, but also look at some innovative stuff that's happening all over the world to help both caregivers as well as seniors. So we're hoping to bring them all as partners on our platform, as well as VillageCore.
And speaking of, when I mentioned if you were going to write any other books, will the other books have stories from people who are a part of the VillageCore team, who are, personal friends of yours? Will they be kind of in the same style as the first book?
So my aim is to write it in a similar style for different experiences that one might be going through. And a companion app for each one. And I definitely will want to leverage our friends at VillageCore for their experiences and stories in all of those different topics. Yes. So the answer is yes, Brandon.
Yes. And well, I guess that's that. I guess that's perfect. Thank you so much. So thank you, Yasmin, for being here with me today. It's been great talking to you, great hearing about your new book. You can find Yasmin's book on Amazon if you go to Amazon.com and you look up Experience Caregiving for Seniors, Stories That Lighten the Journey. You can find the Kindle version and the paperback version there. and you can buy it today, and it will help VillageCore out, and it'll help Yasmin be able to create more books and more resources in order for people who are watching this to have resources there for them entirely free on VillageCore. So thank you so much, Yasmin, for being here.
Thank you, Brandon.
So once again, my name is Brandon Faulkner. Thank you so much for being with us. You can find all of our resources and all of our meetings on our website, which is at villagecore.org. And you can also find a recording of both past events and future events that we do with VillageCore on our YouTube channel, which is at VillageCore channel, where you can watch all those videos and so much more. Thank you so much for watching.